Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage TEA International Board President David Wilrich and Chief Operating Officer Jenny Nevin.
Good morning and welcome to SATE 2018 in Orlando. It's our biggest to date, so really great news that we've got over 500 people in this room. SATE is also intercontinental, as many of you know. This isn't actually our first SATE of the year. The first SATE of the year was in Germany at Europa Park. And we have SATE Asia coming up towards the end of October, 26th and 27th to be exact, at Chimelong in Guangzhou, China. So I would like to say a huge thank you on behalf of all of us to SeaWorld for hosting SATE here in Orlando. Thank you, SeaWorld.
So as you heard on our sizzle reel, TEA as an international association has grown tremendously over the last few years. We now have over 16,000 members worldwide in 42 countries. We couldn't have gotten this far and achieved this much without you, our members, as well as our board leaders and volunteers all around the world, and our sponsors. So it's now our honor to help thank some of those, our global partners.
So, beginning with Walt Disney Imagineering.
And Universal Creative.
Christie.
SeaWorld Parks and Entertainment.
The Hetema Group.
Chimelong.
And Wanda. And I'm going to do the pun. In case you're wondering what's going to happen next, I'd like to welcome Dr. Chris Dold, the Chief Zoological Officer for SeaWorld, and while he's coming to the stage, a big round of applause for all our sponsors, please. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you very much, David. Thank you, Jenny. And absolutely thank you to all of you for showing up this morning. It is my pleasure to welcome you here to SeaWorld. Many of you may be wondering what exactly a Chief Zoological Officer is and why I would be here standing before you this morning talking to you from the podium. And in fact, as I've been thinking about my opening remarks for all of you, I have been wondering the exact same thing. Why, as a veterinarian, I'm a veterinarian by training, what kind of message can I deliver to all of you above and beyond just thanking you for coming to SeaWorld this morning and for having your meeting here to talk about all of the great work that you all do every day on behalf of our guests, no matter where they come from, no matter where you serve them. What does a veterinarian have to offer? When we're talking about storytelling, what can a veterinarian do? And so I thought long and hard, and I figured I could tie this all up in an incredible story about one of the cases that we've seen, several of the cases that we've seen here. And in order to get you through this story, I have to take you deep into the case. And so the story that I want to tell you about is invasive rhinitis caused by Nasotrema in several neonatal Globicephala macarynchus. So if you'll bear with, no, I'm just kidding. I'm not going to go through that. Incidentally, that's just upper respiratory infections due to a parasite in stranded pilot whales. And that's actually what, as a veterinarian, I spent most of my time doing before I had the honor to become the leader of our zoological programs here and one of the leaders of our organization at SeaWorld. You know, SeaWorld is a bit of an enigma. Many of you have worked with us on a lot of different projects and you've experienced that. For those of you who haven't spent a lot of time in our parks, I'm so glad you're here for the next couple of days because you'll see and understand exactly what we are. But we are a weird mix. When people ask me, what is SeaWorld? I say to them, you might think that we are a world-class theme park that has a few animals scattered around. We're a rides park with animals. But I tell everybody, from my point of view, and certainly from all of the folks who work within the zoo, and ultimately everybody who works with SeaWorld, we are a professionally accredited zoological park that has a few rides smattered around. And that's a key difference for us because it speaks to sort of what we're ultimately here to do. But being different, being a mix of theme park and zoological park gives us incredible power, incredible opportunity to reach the guests who come to our park. It gives us a massive audience. Folks who come to celebrate their vacation days with us, maybe once in a lifetime, come to SeaWorld Parks. And while they're here, they have an opportunity to see and meet extraordinary animals. We're different from theme parks because we have animals. We're different from other zoos because we have rides, and ultimately because of how we present our animals. At SeaWorld, we have a deep, deep passion for our ultimate goal, which is to connect as many of our guests with our animals, with the stories of the animals that we're proud to care for here within our parks every single day. And we do that in very small formats, and in very large formats, and in sometimes fantastical formats. We're extraordinary. That opportunity to meet and connect our animals with our guests leads us to our ulterior motive, what we're actually trying to do. Because as a professionally accredited zoological organization, there's a whole ton of crap going on behind the scenes that most of our guests don't ultimately get to see. We have a lot of animals. We have world-class animal health care programs and welfare programs built around these incredible animals that we are extraordinarily privileged to provide homes for and to house here within our parks. As part of that, we have world-class conservation research work that's happening. And that very complicated introduction that I gave, all those big words, there's a lot of science happening behind the scenes, not just with our own folks who are endeavoring to study and understand the frontiers of healthcare for marine animals and other animals that we care for, but also outside researchers who come and spend time with us pursuing their interests, all ultimately culminating in scientific papers that enhance the field work, field biologists, and decision makers' opportunities to do something on behalf of animals in the wild. We have a world-recognized and also locally recognized conservation education programs. So we have thousands of kids that come through our parks every year, either on instructional field trips through their classrooms, or as campers, or just as guests. And our exhibits, our experiences are tailored, in many cases, sometimes especially to those kids, and especially to those curricula, so that we can make sure that we are educating the next generation of kids. And then last but not least, and most importantly, as a zoological park, wow, that just got louder. Like adding some gravitas to this last thing. But most importantly, is that we have the opportunity to tell stories to all of the people that come to our parks. We have an incredibly captive audience. And we have the ability, through these unique encounters, where we can bring people into the animals' lives. In many cases, we can let our guests see and touch and meet an animal up close with their animal caretaker, so that their caretaker can tell our guests the story of that animal. We have an opportunity to allow our guests to see the rescue and rehab work that we're doing. You can walk right up and talk to a rehabilitation specialist or to a veterinarian and allow them to tell you the story of what a manatee might experience out in the wild and the work that we're doing to try to improve their lives. And then in our large formats, in our show formats, we have the opportunity to connect up to 5,000 guests at one time with an extraordinary animal like a killer whale. And through the killer whale, or the dolphin, or the manatee, or the turtle, or the birds, or the 60,000 fish that we have within our parks, we can connect our guests to the ocean and to the larger world that we all share. And so our ulterior motive, ultimately, is the same as all of your ulterior motive. We're trying to get our guests to connect with a story, to meet an animal, to understand that animal's story, and then for something key to translate in their minds, in their bodies, in their souls, in their hearts, and to build a sense of stewardship, of love for the animals, and for that sense of stewardship to ultimately grow into something else. I, like a lot of the folks that I work with and am proud to lead on a daily basis, I fell in love with SeaWorld when I was 9 years old. I'm from Wisconsin. We came down here, spring breaks, one trip to SeaWorld. I fell in love with the killer whales, and I decided to commit my life and career to caring for these animals in some way, shape, or form. That same experience is happening every single day within our parks. And every one of us who does this work knows it. And we are continually pursuing the opportunity to perfect the message, to sharpen the hook, and to bring our guests into our story so that we can all work collectively to improve the lives of animals around the world and to improve ecosystems and ultimately to make the Earth a cleaner, better place, not just for people, but for the animals that we share the planet with. And so I am so excited that you are here for these next 2 days, because it's my hope that as you have an opportunity to walk around the parks, you'll see the park the way I do, as a vibrant place with awesome rides, incredible animals, and ultimately incredible people who are storytellers and are there to make the perfect connection and inspire generations and thousands of people. And I really appreciate you coming here to share our mission with us, to have your meeting here, and I hope you have a hell of a time over the next 2 days. Thank you all very much.